Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Angel Baby Show. I'm Elise here with my sister Ava, and we have a very special guest today. We are interviewing Juan Pablo Arias Muñoz. He is a writer-director from Chile. He has tons of accolades we're going to share. I'm so excited to have you in today. Welcome in. And I'm just going to give a quick little short bio so that everyone can get a sense of what he's known for, what he's doing, and we're going to talk a little bit about his career and ask him questions about how he came to be and his success story. So you are a writer-director from Chile, and you draw upon, and I love this, fantastical storytelling and magical realism. And you really draw upon your Latin American heritage and create very emotional and thought-provoking films. And so you are here today to talk to us about your current work, your future projects, AFI film festivals, whatever really you want to share. And so I'm super excited to have you in today. So
thank you so much for having me, you guys. This is an awesome opportunity. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming in. Elise and I, actually, fun fact, worked on one of his films. It was like shooting a pilot in Palm Springs, and it was like a pool scene. It was so much fun. Chaotic, so many things happening all at once. What is your favorite part about being on set?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Well, I think there's two things. One is the creative aspect. I think there's the idea that just figuring out how to tell a story with how you put the camera and how creating a language for communicating a story. I think that's the most exciting part about being on set. I think the other thing is just collaborating, creating with people and collaborating with your DP, with your costume designer, with your production designer, with your producer, collaborating with actors, trying to find characters, trying to find moments. I think that creative aspect of the collaboration, I think is my favorite part. My least favorite part is that you're always running against time and you're always late. That's the thing I don't like. But I think the collaboration and the creative part of it, I think it's my favorite.
I feel like it takes so much patience to be on set because you've got to get every angle and you have to repeat things and you kind of have to keep your energy up. Do you ever struggle with the long hours, or do you just love every minute of it on set?
I mean, it's a struggle. I think, patience is key. That's a key word, actually. I think part of what you're getting hired to do is to have that patience, and because as a director, you have you are in charge or responsible for not just the creative aspect of the movie, but also the morale of the team, right? And like I said before, you're collaborating, you're creating in a group, but everyone's looking at you for answers, and everyone's looking at you to see if you know what you're doing, how confident are you in that we're getting what we're getting. And they really, the crew and the cast really respond to your demeanor as a director to know how things are going. So if you act exasperated, if you act frustrated, if you act like you're insecure, like you don't know what you're doing, or if you start voicing your frustrations, or if you start yelling at people, which some people do, I don't do that, it really takes a toll on the team. So I think, to answer your question, I think patience is key. I think it's something that you have to develop as a director, to be able to work under that pressure and to be able to work through with that patience, because ultimately everybody's working all the time, and if you're not working, that means that the DP is working, and if the DP is not working, that means that the production design is working on set. So you have to understand that you're part of a process, and it's not just you with the actors, and not just you with the camera and the actors. There's a whole team of people behind. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's such a good outlook, and I think that's why your films look the way that they do. I actually was interested in your genre. Actually, the LA Times said that you are a true promise in the horror genre. And I really am just interested in how you got into horror, because I feel like that's such a specific and twisted, fun, magical genre. I'd love to hear what brought you into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main thing that brought me to the genre is how much um, how much space there is to play. I think visually audiences are much more forgiving with something that's a little bit more unconventional when it's with genre rather than with other types of films. When it's a straightforward drama, or even when it's a comedy, there's like a very specific language that you have to kind of apply, execute to tell the story. But I think with genre, you have a little bit more leeway, because you can build that tone, you can build that eeriness, or you can build that sense of dread with with uh, with a lot of unconventionality. I think that's a word. It exists. So that's what I'm attracted to. I love, or I try to, for the most part, to think things different. Like I think there's a few things that you have to do to convey a story, but also there's a lot of like telling stories in autopilot, which I think happens a lot on TV and on film, where you kind of see a standard kind of like language. What attracts me to the genre is the fact that you can do things a little bit different and people will appreciate it. I think that's
Yeah.
the first thing, and also I think there's fear is a very interesting emotion, and I think people respond really well to fear, and especially when you combine fear with something that's a little bit more with something a little bit deeper, like something to say. I think that combination between having a horror film and having something to say, I think it's really special, and it's something that, at least in my life, it has like really stayed with me, and I think in audiences in general, whenever you experience that, whenever you learn something through that experience of fear that is not just survival mode, then it really becomes interesting.
That's kind of what tying into our next question. I just want to learn more about what got you into the world of directing and writing. And before I ask kind of what exactly inspired you, kind of with the horror genre, which horror directors have you grown up watching that you think just really inspired or taught you, like, that's how you make a scary film, or that's how you get people to fear something? Like, I don't know if there's anyone out there.
No, for sure. I mean, there's tons. I think the first few examples of a great thriller or horror director that really showed me how to combine a great story, a deep sense of character, and a well-crafted point, I guess, or like something important to say, was M. Night Shyamalan, like those early Shyamalan films in the 90s. I'm talking about Sixth Sense, I'm talking about The Village, I'm talking about Unbreakable, I'm talking about Signs, films that really had a point of view that was very, very strong, and scripts that were crafted. Every scene was crafted towards making that point, and it wasn't about the cheap scares. It wasn't about just getting the money from the audience and like giving them a trailer and that's it, like just coming to the theater. I think there was an experience that was trying to be crafted there, and it was crafted with such love that it was always interesting to me how he would think of a thriller or a horror movie with so much heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would be the first person that comes to mind when you ask me that question. And he's such a rock star, like he's made tons and tons of films throughout his big career. You know, he's had great moments, and I think his particular outlook on on the genre, I think, is something that I'm attracted to. Then later on, like more current people, you have someone like um, well, films like The Witch, or films like It Follows, films like It Comes at Night,
Yeah.
that have a strong visual sense, but also have something to say. You know, Jordan Peele's of the world, the Trey Edward Schultz's of the world.
Mhm.
Um, uh, yeah, yeah, those are some directors that inspire me.
That's and when you grew up as a little kid, did you kind of always know that you wanted to, did you love watching movies? Did you ever like make films with your friends? Kind of, were you writing stories? Like what were your early signs of, oh, this is what I want to pursue for the rest of my life?
I think the films were always a big part of my life.
Mhm.
You know, I think as a kid, I we were watching a lot of films with my family. Um, you guys are probably too young to remember Blockbuster, but that was a thing back when I was a kid. Uh, the the whole world of movies was a thing when I was a kid, and I didn't realize until later that not everybody lives films like that, because they were like a big thing in my life. So when I
Mhm.
was around 11 or 12, I realized that I was watching way more movies than I should, and that I was getting very, very absorbed by the world of movies. That I realized that there was something there that I'll be perfectly happy with doing the rest of my life. And that sort of then it sort of became uh, my identity in a way. You know, I would read a lot on films, and I would look up films to watch, and I would look at lists of like the best films ever made, and that's how I discovered. When I was a kid, I discovered, you know, Kubrick, and discovered Tarantino. And then once you hear those names and you see those movies, and you kind of like aspire to be a filmmaker, then I think your world opens up. You know, your mind just kind of goes completely blown, and you
Yeah,
discover what films can be. Uh, and that kind of like sealed the deal for me. That's that was mm, my first experience with like film becoming who I am. And then when I was 14, when I was 13, 14, you know, like playing with the first cameras that I had, and making movies with my friends, and then screening them like in the classroom, you know, like making everybody laugh. And it was like mostly just like silly things, you know, like it wasn't like a short film that I would like show anybody right now. But I remember the feeling that I get on being on set today, on uh making a big budget film, or like a not a big budget, but a $1 million film, is exactly the same feeling that I had when I was in my room with a couple friends, just like trying to shoot something, you know, and
yeah,
then dumping all that footage on the computer and trying to edit it together. That's my job today, you know, like I still do the same thing, and I love it.
that's awesome.
That's amazing. I love the progress you see, in your work, and just the way that your debut film, and then now you're working with huge companies with huge projects. What is something that you've taken away from just your debut film all the way to where you are now?
Um, you guys are asking the hard question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I mean, it's good because I mean, I haven't thought about this. That's a great question. I think what is something that I've taken away since my debut film? Well, I guess the feeling that you're always learning, um, the feeling that you never quite that you're always trying to figure it out. You know, that every scene is different, every story is different. You kind of know a few things that could work, but at the end of the day, you don't have all the answers. You know, and I think that perspective is freeing, because then it really allows you to collaborate more sincerely, to really rely on the people that you work with to figure out with you, which is a little bit of a contradiction, because as a director, you need to know what to do. If no one has an opinion, you have to make a decision, but I think that's something that I've sort of keep coming back to, is that no matter how many times I've done this, it's still new every time, because every scene is new, and it's a way that you've shot it, that it's different from everything else, and the challenges are different, but one thing that I've sort of learned as well is to trust the process, because there's a lot of times when I'm working on an edit right now, and there are points where I'm like just reminded of my mistakes, like what I didn't do on set, or what we didn't have enough time to do, or where the camera should have been placed differently, or the two shots that are not cutting together. And I'm thinking, I've had this feeling before, and it always works out somehow, because you just spend time and you give love to the movie, and you're trying to figure out how to work it, and how to make it work. And you always figure out, and you always have a movie that you like and that you're proud of at the end of the process, So even though you have those feelings, those are the feelings that motivate you to find the answers, So not be afraid of those feelings of uncertainty, but allow those feelings of uncertainty to guide a process, and then trust that at the end of the process you'll have it. That'll be my answer.
That's very inspirational.
And for when you're casting with actors and actresses, what are things you really look for when you're just trying to put your whole story together, and you need people to kind of bring it to life for you?
That's another great question. The casting process is really fun. I think for the most part you're looking for truth, someone who can come in and really show you a version of this character that can be real, that as they're saying these words, you believe that this person could actually be saying these words and could actually be acting this way. You're just looking for some truth, and I think you know it when you see it. You're also looking for interesting choices, because if you're seeing 10 actors reading for the same character, most of them are gonna go to the same, gonna make the same choices, because that's what they think you want to see. But there'll be one person who comes in with a different take, and with something special and with something different that works and that you hadn't thought about. And that's the kind of person that you want to work with, someone who has good taste. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's very interesting. Interesting choices are key. That's why when you're an actor coming into an audition, I think the last thing you want to think about is giving the team that's in front of you the things that you think they want to see.
Right.
But go with your gut and go with what you think would be the most interesting or the most truthful, what makes sense to you and to you as a person and to you with your experience and your background, and try to make that character unique to you, and just show up and say, this is what I have to offer. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it doesn't work out just because you're not the right person. But when the stars align and you're offering something really important and you're the right person for it, I think if you make it truthful to who you are, then what you're offering is a version of something that could be right for the film. But that doesn't mean that it'll never be really wrong, because it's just it's your version of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's very interesting that in our field there are no rights or wrong. There's just like different options. And when you're coming into a casting session, what you're doing is imagining the film with the person that you have in front of you, and that's a very different film to imagine for every actor that comes in.
No, well, thank you. That's a very interesting because people, I think there is something to like, oh, I want to do what they want. They're gonna love this, so I'm gonna. But what you're saying about like truth and try like not to act almost and just be the most real you possibly can. But and I know you have a lot of future projects in the works, and if like I know some things you can't share, some things you can. Is there anything you would like to share and you would like to talk about, or confidential, or in the works, or to be continued?
Yeah, I mean, I just wrapped the feature. We shot it in Houston last month, and I'm in the post process right now. I'm editing. It's super exciting. It's great. It's a bit of a blend of genres, and we're hoping to have it ready by the end of the year. There's some really exciting a really exciting cast on it. That's as much as I can say, I guess. But it'd be great to share it with you guys once we have it ready.
Well, once it's out in the open, we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on, and then we'll give it a little promo. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I know Elise, as an actress, and then just hearing your like tips about like casting, and then also just directing and the way that you collaborate with other people, it's really inspiring. So we really appreciate you coming on today, and we loved working with you for that little intro pilot session, but we really appreciate you coming on today.
No, thank you so much, you guys, for the invitation. I'd love to come back when the movie's done and talk a little bit more.
We definitely will ask you to come back.
Yes, we definitely will. But thank you so much for coming to the Angel Baby Show. I'm Ava Lynn.
I'm Elise.
And we loved talking to you, JP. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.